So today I'm going to talk about body positivity. Body positivity is a very popular topic at the moment. It's very popular in the media and on social media. There's a lot of body positivity hashtags and a lot of influencers and brands using body positivity. So there's a lot of kind of debate around what body positivity is and who it's intended for, and there's a lot of people getting angry at each other, some I think in a way that's justified and some that I think isn't justified. So I kind of wanted to talk about that today. So body positivity is at the moment kind of a hot topic, I guess. It's being used by a lot of brands and media to sell things. There's a real issue with the way it has been diluted, and the thing is body positivity was not designed for everyone. Now I know some people are not okay with people saying that, but that is the truth. The body positivity movement was derived from the fat acceptance movement and from health at every size. It was very influenced by those movements, and those movements the fat acceptance movement was one that was around in the 60s, and it was about kind of trying to combat the discrimination and marginalization of fat people. And the body positivity movement kind of came from that and came from health at every size as well. And health at every size is the idea that everybody deserves to have equal treatment regardless of their weight, shape or size, and that, you know, weight loss isn't a treatment for ailments, and that it's more about, you know, intuitive eating and exercise and having a balanced and varied diet, and it's not about weight. These are movements that I really agree with, and obviously the concept of health at every size is something that I promote. So the thing is body positivity is not just about loving your body or being positive about your body. I think the name is very misleading, and that's where people have kind of gone wrong as such. I think the issue is not people in general, it's not the consumers, because the thing is the media has taken the body positive movement and used it for its own means and used it to make money and profit off the movement. It's diluted it and it's put you know, slim curvy white women at the center front of the movement, which it was never designed for those people, because those people are represented everywhere already. The movement was created for marginalized people. It was created by fat black women, for fat women and fat men, but also for other marginalized bodies such as transgender folk, disabled people, people of color. It wasn't intended for, you know, straight white thin women, which is now, they are the group of people that is now at the forefront of the movement, and it was never ever intended for them. It is misleading, the name, and that's why I think people that's why people are getting angry about it and defending it. They're saying, why can't everybody be positive about their bodies? And the thing is, the body positive movement isn't about just being positive about your bodies. It was like a safe space for people with marginalized bodies to be able to celebrate their bodies in a safe space where they weren't going to be judged for their bodies, and and it was also a place for activism. Body positivity is political. It's not just everybody is beautiful, love yourself, that kind of stuff. That's not the place for it. There are many other hashtags that promote this kind of stuff, such as body neutrality, body acceptance, body confidence, body appreciation, self-love, self-confidence, all those kind of things are spaces for everyone. And there's also, of course, the eating disorder recovery community, because I see a lot of people recovering from eating disorders who become quite angry and defensive when they're told that the body positivity movement was not a space that was designed for them. And I understand where that comes from, again, because the name is misleading, that body positivity. Why can't everybody be body positive, and people who are recovering from eating disorders really need that space, kind of thing. But it's not their space. Of course, if you can be an ally to people who are marginalized and discriminated against because of their bodies, and you of course can consume the content and take away the positive empowering messages and use them to help yourself. That is really important, you know, and it's great that people can use that. But the people who should have voices in the body positivity movement, the people who should be at the center of this movement, are people who are marginalized because of their bodies. It shouldn't be just anyone and everyone. And that's what brands and influencers have done, is they've leapt aboard this train and diluted it and created it into something that's not what it was intended for. And the thing is, you know, it has kind of gone past the point of being able to bring it back to being what it was supposed to be. So some people might say there's no point being angry about it, but actually it is massively justified to be angry about this, because people who are marginalized, and that means they don't have safe spaces, and they're not represented, and they are discriminated against. And the whole point of the body positivity movement was to have a place where they could be celebrated and it was safe, and they could also engage in activism, and that space has been taken from them. And people who are represented everywhere have been placed at the center of this movement and have been placed at the front of this movement, when the whole point was that these people are represented in so many other places that they don't need to be taking away a movement that was a safe space for marginalized people. And that's why people are really angry about it. That's why I'm angry about it, because it's just not okay. You know, it's the same as the Black Lives Matter movement. That's not for white people, and it never will be for white people. The Black Lives Matter movement is for Black people. And the LGBTQ community, that is not for straight people. You can be an ally to those movements. You can support those movements, but they're not your movements if you are, you know, if you're not Black for the Black Lives Matter movement, and if you're straight for the LGBTQ community, they're not your movements. Just like the body positivity movement was created for people with marginalized bodies by people with marginalized bodies. So the reason I do kind of empathize with people who are fighting against this and being really angry about the fact that they're not included in this movement is because it has been taken by media and co-opted, and the message has been changed and diluted into kind of everybody should love themselves and everybody should be positive about their bodies, which is obviously true. That's true, but that's not what that movement was about. And so I understand why people are fighting for it to be their space, because they believe it is their space, but it's not. And the thing that needs to happen is people need to listen when they're told that it isn't their space, and when marginalized folk talk to them about body positivity and where it comes from and what it was intended for and who it was created for. Those people need to listen and understand, and then instead of angrily replying that the space still should be for everybody, should respond with, "Oh right, I didn't know that. I'm sorry, now I understand." You know, I don't understand why people are still trying to defend it as their own space when it has been explained to them why it is not. Because I totally understand ignorance to the history of the body positivity movement, but when you are educated about it, I don't understand people then still defending their place in it, because you're then furthering the oppression and marginalization of people who are already discriminated against, because you're basically saying like, no, I'm not listening to you. I'm not listening to the facts. I'm not listening to your voice, and I will continue taking up space in your movement. And that's just not okay. As I said already, the body positivity movement it's kind of gone now. It's been so heavily diluted and taken over and co-opted that it's never gonna go back to the origins, to what it was intended to be. And that's really, really sad, because that is a space that has been taken away from people who need it. But the anger still is there, you know. You can't just move on and pretend that it hasn't happened, and it is justified to be angry about it, regardless of whether there is anything to be done about it, because it is what it is. So yes, I do think the body positivity movement has now unfortunately been taken over for good, but that doesn't mean I'm not going to keep talking about it and keep challenging people, because we can't just sit back and let people take a movement away from marginalized people, and not be angry about it and not challenge people about it and just be like, okay, cool, that happened, never mind, let's just move on and not say anything about it, because that's just not actually okay. So yeah, I mean, it's the thing is there are so many other spaces where people can get support for their bodies, and it's definitely, everybody can experience body dysmorphia or body image issues, and definitely that needs to be combated by everyone, and that is something that we need to fight against. But body positivity movement wasn't the space for that, and the thing is, research shows that overweight and obese people face stigma and discrimination when it comes to employment, healthcare, education, as well as other areas of life. I mean, like, if you're somebody who wears straight sizes, you can walk into any kind of clothing store and buy clothes for yourself, whereas somebody who is marginalized is not able to do that and has to buy clothing online, and the clothing that is designed for them online is not to the standard that clothing for thin people is. Seating is designed for thin people, plane seats, cinema seats, all that kind of stuff. The whole world is revolved around and designed for thin people, not fat people. They are discriminated against, they are marginalized, as well as obviously all the other bodies that are included in the body positivity movement now, trans people, disabled people, people of color, but also fat people are stereotyped as lazy, stupid, unmotivated, and unhygienic. They have a lot of stigma and discrimination, which is why they need a space that is safe. But yeah, that is why people are angry about the body positivity movement, and I can see why people are angry on both sides. But the thing is while I understand the anger on both sides, there is one side that is actually right, because that's where the facts are, and I just really think that people need to step back and understand that, and stop trying to take the platform away from the people who made it and the people who it was designed for. But yes, the name in itself is misleading, but when marginalized people and anybody who are allies explain to people why the body positivity movement is not actually, or wasn't, a space designed for everyone, and why it's important that it's supposed to be kept that way, because some people say like, oh well, it's evolved, it's now for everybody, and that's a good thing. But actually it's not, because you are taking the microphone and you are silencing marginalized people, and you are taking up space, and you're taking up space on a platform that was designed for them, and that's not a positive thing. But yes, of course, I agree that everybody who has body image issues should find a community and a safe space, and a celebratory space for themselves. It just wasn't supposed to be the body positivity movement, and it's a shame that it has been diluted and taken away from people. But yeah, so those are my thoughts on the body positivity movement. If you have, actually I really don't want to have any more debates about it, but I'm sure some people will comment anyway. But yeah, I hope that this has helped educate some people, and I hope that you can continue having these conversations with other people. Cheers. Thank you for listening.